Joining the conversation, we've got Sharon Kell from the CoCo Moon Introductions Agency. Good morning to you, Sharon.
Good morning, mate.
Have you got kids?
I have a daughter who's 11.
So you'll be going through all of this now?
Going through all of this right now. It's very real for us.
So do you ever say no?
We do say no, yeah.
What do you say no to?
It's not just fashion, it's gadgets as well. It's iPhones and iPads and everything that goes with the fashion industry, not just technically the clothes market.
So you say no to what? Do you not worry that she's not going to be connecting with her mates, though?
Absolutely, and I think that's the challenge. You don't want your child to stand out and be different, and we do give in to peer pressure. We do. I think Victoria, my daughter, is physically and emotionally much more advanced than I was at 11. They're taller, they look more grown up than they really are. And they understand the world around them in a different way to what I did when I was that age. But yes, she understands no, she doesn't always agree. But equally we do give in as well. So when Harry says,
morals never go out of fashion.
Morals, I totally agree. Morals don't go out of fashion. So you don't
think he's been old-fashioned when he says that?
Again, it's a difficult one, isn't it? My moral stance may be very different to yours.
OK, we've also got John Stevens here. Morning to you, John.
Morning.
Currently out of work.
Yep.
How's it going there, looking for a job?
Difficult. But, keep fingers crossed.
Yeah. Are young girls growing up too quickly?
I kind of feel that children have a problem nowadays because media kind of dominates lives. Children see role models, and whether people call people role models such as pop stars and musicians and things like that, kids see pop stars acting in a way where the line blurs between what's entertainment and what's, like, I call soft porn, where you get pop stars pretty much revealing as much as possible on normal daytime TV, and then the kids kind of want to replicate the same thing. And I think that's really hard for parents. And also you've got the other issue about some parents really maybe shouldn't be parents, and they kind of don't give the kids the right kind of guidance, so it's difficult.
But what can you do about that?
Well, I really I'm not like one of those old-fashioned old fogies. I really think that something like Strictly and something like X Factor, you should actually just put a blanket ban on certain kinds of dance, certain kinds of clothes. I'm probably going to sound really old.
So hang on, so all the Robbie Savage thrusting stuff?
Well,
there were complaints about that.
Yeah.
I
worked in television for a number of years, and I worked on, not exactly the biggest quality like Trisha and Jerry Springer. So I've seen behind the scenes, and the impact that television has on people, unless you actually work on it, it's very difficult to describe. But you see people literally wanting to be those people, and I think things like Strictly, when it goes too far, the minute they've got popular, suddenly they get rid of a female judge and bring on a nice young looking woman, and then they think, right, we need to have a little bit more on the ratings, so let's get a little bit more sexy dancing. There literally is nowhere else to go. If they take any more clothes off, they'll be semi-naked. So I think it's family viewing suddenly getting a blur with a little bit of soft porn.
There's a long way to go on Strictly before they'll be semi-naked.
Well, look, I mean, for me, okay. I get really wound up with the way TV always, it's ageist. The amount of young people I used to see, pretty people, and you could see better people who were better presenters, but basically because men and women were prettier, they got jobs. And I think it's the same with the way sexualisation comes in.
Do you agree with John, who's joining the conversation at the moment? He's here for the next half hour or so. John Stevens, and he's even going as far as to say Strictly Come Dancing is partially to blame for what's going on with our young girls and problems with young people. Is he right? 01642 225511. Text number 81333. Start your message with the word tease. John is on the line. Now, John is a psychologist, aren't you, John?
Good morning. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Right. So if a 7-year-old, maybe younger than that, starts wearing makeup and starts wearing lingerie, how are they going to turn out?
Well, it's very difficult to say how they're going to turn out as a blanket statement, but I agree with some of the points John was making. And on this morning on the BBC, they've been pushing very hard about the Child Minister, Tim Loughton, talking about planning to tackle child sexual exploitation. And I think when we've got young children who are sort of pole dancing and dressing in quite sexy ways, then we're actually adding to the problem. And again, children need to be children. They don't need to be exploited, or they don't need to be sexually aware before their natural time. And I think that's the whole point. There's a great danger that as we bring things forward in time, like sexual experiences and all of those things, there is a great devaluation of its importance and its role in life. So for me, I'm totally opposed to any of these things that exploit children in particular.
I agree with you. I mean, something that I think is really strange is the way that the Playboy logo has been introduced into mainstream purchasing. So you see Playboy on calendars, on T-shirts, and you've got little girls wearing Playboy logos. And it's almost like the kids don't have a clue what the logo represented in the other days when, you know, there was women dancing.
So if they don't know, then does it matter?
Well, yeah, because it's like literally endorsing soft porn and sexualisation without the kids knowing. And the parents, some of them obviously don't get the point that it's not just another brand like Nike or Adidas. This is actually women being mostly, not all, but mostly being exploited for sexualised reasons, and the parents should have the brains, if they do, to not buy the kids that, and shops shouldn't be able to sell them to kids.
John, I agree with you totally there, because it isn't the child who understands the meaning of the logos.
No.
It's the sick, demented perverts who are grooming these children or who are looking at them. And I think that's the thing. Parents can make that moral decision that at 7, 8 years of age, that child should not be anywhere near sexually not only active but equally be aware of lots of things. That's the innocence of childhood for me. It should be about letting children grow up naturally, enjoying that time rather than having it forced on them. But again, with all of the child abuse, I just think that's a lasting problem that a child will have to live with for the rest of their life.
Okay, John, thank you very much for that. Now I want to take a look at how we solve the problem then. Schools, what part do they play? Should there be a ban on makeup and jewellery and strict uniform policy? Would that go a long way towards solving the problem? 01642 225511.
Mike Parr, BBC Tees.
At the moment, we're talking about whether you've got a problem with young girls growing up too quickly. Thank you, Roger, for your email address, tees.studios@bbc.co.uk. He said, Harry, who was on half an hour ago, spot on with his comments on the lack of morals and parental control in today's society. It's down to the parents to set guidelines for their daughters. The trouble is, these days, too many young single girls who are still immature, who are bringing up children and passing their behaviour on to their offspring. It's a cycle. I've got 3 daughters, says Roger, who were brought up with moral guidance. They are grown up now, have all turned 40, and we've never had any problems with any of them. That's what Roger thinks then. It'd be interesting to hear from single mums. Are always a bit of a target, aren't they? Everybody always points the finger at them. I would have thought, I don't know whether the team agrees with me, Sharon and John with me this morning, it's perfectly possible, isn't it, to be a single mum and still bring up your kids properly?
Absolutely. I think maybe,
so why do people always say, well, it's single mums then that cause the problem?
Maybe this stems back to much more than morals. The society we live in, where reality TV, making a name for yourself, is about sensationalism, is about how you look as opposed to what contribution you're giving to society. And we're encouraging the youth of today not to academically work hard to educate themselves, but potentially to make a living out of being a sensationalist or how they look.
Hello, Niall, how are you?
Fine, yourself.
All right, champion. What have you got for me?
The lady who's on earlier with the dance school who's saying that children have got to wear makeup in, what's it called?
Yeah, dance class.
Yeah, the dance class and the tanning stuff in the makeup to get on in the school. That's perverse. The parents should be done for child abuse on that.
It's perverse. What?
Putting tan on a little kiddie and a makeup on a little kiddie so they can perform in front of adults. Sorry, that's perverse, that.
Is that not a bit extreme?
That's disgusting.
Why is it disgusting? Look, it's gone on. That's gone on for years, hasn't it? People just want it.
Yeah, it's over from America though, and it's totally out of. Why would you want to dress a 7-year-old in makeup in spray tanted dancing in front of some perverts? That's totally out of order. That.
I think it's just in the characters of play. I don't think it's actually like dressing them up to be adults. I think if that's what you mean.
It's the spray. Why put spray tan on a little kiddie?
I think it's more just because, like, if they're in shows and things, they have spray paint just for the characters to play. Like, if you think about all these cartoon characters, kids and adults.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. But that lady specifically said spray tan, as in what a 30-year-old woman wears.
It's widespread.
Why would
actually.
you put that on a kid?
It's widespread, actually. If you watch the American TV from tiny ages, they're doing the pageant competitions where they are all in false tan. I personally don't like it, but it's not new. That's been around for a long, long time.
And why are you mentioning perverts, Niall? Why people are wearing a spray tan to prance around in front of perverts?
Yeah, little kiddies, parents putting kiddies in spray tan in makeup.
Yeah, well,
that's bang out of order. They should be locked up for that. That's disgusting.
The people in the audience, Niall, are not perverts. They're just proud parents.
Yeah, proud and brain dead to put the kids in makeup like that. I've got a 5-year-old daughter. Yeah, she plays with makeup. She plays with her mother's makeup, but she don't go out of the house with it on. She won't wear in a boob tube tops and stuff and other stuff what the shop's selling. If a parent buys the little kiddies that.
So when she's older now,
annoying.
When she's 13, are you going to stop her? Are you going to say no?
Possibly. Her mother won't stop her, maybe, but I'll have a go. The skill. No, listen.
No,
we've got two skills. Sorry, we've got two skills near us. One lets the kids go in whatever they want to wear. As long as they've got a school uniform on, the skirts can be up whatever length they want. They can have makeup on, they can have their hair done and everything. The other skill, what my children go to, makeup's banned, jewellery's banned, and the skirts have got to be a certain length.
And if all schools did that, you think the world would be a better place, yeah?
It might not be a better place, but it'll certainly be appropriate again.
OK, Niall, thank you very much. Stan next. Morning, Stan.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. What do you think?
What is it? All I want to say, I think there's too many children having children. That's the only thing I want to say. And about this people approaching, and I'm going to come straight out on the wireless or not. I had a police at my house the other day accusing me of approaching children at Marshall Avenue. I did chase the children from my car, but the police said they couldn't hear no voice.
Right, so, I mean, obviously...
Yeah, it's been the camera of me talking to the kid, chasing the kid.
Right, well, obviously... we can't necessarily get into the detail of what happened, Stan, on that occasion. But what you're saying is that there is too much sexualisation of young kids, and it's got to stop.
That's it. That's exactly the point.
Have you got kids of your own, Stan?
No. I have nieces and nephews and great nieces and that. And
yeah, I just wonder why you came on and said it's young parents, it's teenagers having kids that are causing the problem.
Well, at the end of the day, when I went to, you didn't think of things like that at that age, kids. Anyway, I'm ready to go to speaking on the phone.
All right, Stan, thank you very much for your call. Is there a link there? I mean, we always end up somehow talking about single moms, don't we?
Always, and yes, the figures tell us single mothers are getting younger year on year. I'm not convinced they're the sum total of the issue we have at all. Far from it.
No, it's too easy to generalise.
Yeah. But there might be a slightly, if we're talking about the sexual thing, and that's where we started, that young girls are growing up too quickly because they're wearing spray tans, they're wearing makeup and inappropriate clothing. They become sex objects. They might become pregnant, as a teenager.
Yeah, that's
then
a point.
They have kids, and so that's the cycle that we're in.
And the issue is what this sexualisation leads to. Is it to lure men into finding them attractive, or is it just part of growing up where they want to look older, where they mimic their parents, their mother, or who they see on TV innocently? And there's a difference between any young child wanting to dress up as an older lady, an older girl, versus doing that intentionally to sexually attract the opposite sex at a young age. And there is a difference between the two.
Yeah. And did you do that then? Can you remember?
Did I do that?
Can you remember going into your mum's wardrobe?
Absolutely.
And,
from being really small, my mother's high heels, her makeup, albeit I probably looked like a man in drag. It wasn't attractive by any means, because it was the innocence of a child wanting to dress up, not to look sexually attractive to the opposite sex by any means. And I think there is a difference between the two.
what one of the dangers is when children just because, like you say about the innocence, when they want to grow up quickly, they may dress in a more adult way, but they're doing it in innocence. And then when we're talking about the worst scenarios, when a man sees that young girl,
yes,
maybe a teenager, dressed up as an older woman, she can't cope with the situation she puts herself in, then those horrible things happen, and that's a danger, and that's why it's a very grey area. I mean, I always think that if I'm not a parent, but if I had kids, I think I'd want my kids, the girls, to be so hideously ugly that no one ever went near them. I know it sounds horrible, but it's the only way I can look at it, because I think for being a parent, the thing is nowadays everything's more reported because of the way the media works, and I don't think it's any worse than it was 50 years ago. It's just that it's more reported now, and I think it's harder for parents because of that.
Okay, not a lot we can do about parenting, I would have said. Maybe schools could do a bit more. Have you got a solution? 01642 225511. How are you doing, Yorkie?
How do? You all right? Listen to your programme with interest as usual. I have, we have 11 grandchildren. Some girls, some boys.
Wow.
I think the trouble is nowadays, kids are dragged up into being adults long before they're mature enough to be adults. Basically, you know, that's the problem. The minds are not set to be grown up. We're dragging children up far too fast. Let them be kids.
Yeah. Can we turn the clock back then? How do we do that?
I think we have got to start putting our foot down, school uniforms, etc., etc. I think it goes back a long way, and there's a lot needs to be done. I'm not religious, but I suppose society now is getting a bit like Sodom and Gomorrah.
It's that bad?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Personally, I do. I mean, I agree with a lot of the comments this morning. Some of the comments about perverts I don't agree with, definitely. But the programmes that's on TV, and I'm not a prude by any means, but as one guy says, they might as well get on the stage naked before long, and it won't be frowned upon.
But you're not talking about Strictly Come Dancing, surely?
Good. Brain dead material.
I love that show.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do, obviously. It takes all kinds, doesn't it? Let's face it. Personally, I don't like it.
What you sound like? I think it's good, glitzy, wholesome family entertainment, and it just gets better.
I don't know. I just don't like it. I think it's a programme for judges who like to degrade people, to be honest.
But Yorkie, if you have, did you say 11 grandchildren?
Yes, yeah.
How do we draw the line between encouraging them to make their own decisions in life and being responsible, or ruling with an iron fist? Because that's difficult.
No, I'm not saying about rule with an iron fist. Let children be children. The life of a child is getting shorter and shorter in the sense of being dragged into adulthood. I wish... I mean, I'm 68. We were still children at 15. Now they're dragging people up to, these young kids, it appears to be wanting to be 15-year-old when they're only 7.
All right, thank you very much indeed for that. Keep your calls coming through, of course, on this. We'll talk about it along with other stuff through until midday today. 01642 225511. Are young girls growing up too quickly? Also coming up after 10 o'clock this morning, we're going to be talking about who is fit to work. Is the government pulling disability benefit too quickly? We're going to be talking to a fellow who's been out of work for a long time and now he's been forced into work. He says he's not up to it, but he's going to have to face it. And why the people of Whitby are campaigning to keep a man sitting on a bench.
Yorkshire, County Durham, Teesside, proud of where we live.
BBC Tees.
On 95 FM, on digital and online. This is BBC Tees, 10 o'clock. Good morning, this is Mike Parr, taking your calls, your texts and your emails until midday today. We're going to be talking about care services later. Some people's care at home is being described as so poor, their human rights are being breached.
If you're talking about it, we're talking about it.
BBC Tees.
But in just a moment, we're going to be talking about top people's pay, directors' pay. Why do we nearly always think that people on big money don't deserve it? If you've got a view. An inquiry into executive pay says excessive salaries are having a corrosive effect on the economy. It's interesting that the Business Secretary, Vince Cable, has said that the government is looking seriously now then at limiting the amount of money some of these directors can earn. And this is because the decision on how much the top guys and women are going to earn is going to shift from the boardroom to the shareholders in future. So the shareholders will be able to decide, in theory, how much the top guys get. Sharon Kell is with me this morning. Sharon is from the CoCo Moon Introductions Agency, and John Stevens is currently out of work. What line of work would you like to get a job in, John?
I don't know actually at the moment. I think when I get well, I'll just see what's available. But in terms of the pay structure, I watched the programme the other day talking about the economy, and a brilliant lady who runs a transport business was talking about one thing she'd like to see, and I really think it's a good point, was talking about the big cheeses, the CEOs of all the companies. Generally they do a 2-year stint and then they move on somewhere else. What they do, they get the share price up, they kind of dismantle a good business, dismantle it, sell off the best chunks so the value goes up, and then they move on somewhere else. So they have this image that they've created loads of wealth, but in fact the business, after they've gone, then struggles. And she said that if you have everyone working for maybe a 10-year period, they have to say 10 years, it would have such a massive impact positively on the economy that pay rises and pay losses, I think it would even out more, because the CEOs would have to think, hey, we're here for the long term, we're going to have to reward our staff for working hard, loyalty has to be done both ways, and I think that would work well, and then the pay structure wouldn't be as bad. I know it's only one small thing, but...
Yeah. We have got this attitude, Sharon, haven't we? And I mean, you know, John has a particular perspective here because he's not earning anything at all at the moment. Yeah. So when you hear about these massive salaries, John, I mean, being on benefit at the moment, how does that make you feel? Is it fair enough? You know, they've probably worked very hard to get to where they are.
Well, I said to Sharon, I've known some very wealthy, well-known people, and there are some people in this world who get to the highest positions not through the fairest means, and I suppose that's the way life is. I don't care if people work very, very hard, then I think they deserve all they get, as long as they're honest. There's a lot of MPs that claim they don't get paid enough, but there's a lot of MPs that kind of play with the truth in terms of expenses and things, and it's hard to know what's the right thing. If someone works hard and they're honest, I think they deserve whatever they get.
I'm a firm believer in business, a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, and if you're adding a huge amount of value, why shouldn't you be paid a huge amount of money? It all comes at a cost, and if you're prepared to work the clock round and add substantial value to our business, whatever that looks like, good luck to you. I just think, unfortunately, as a nation, we seem to be resentful. We seem not to want people to do well. We typically support the underdog. We focus on those who aren't paid enough. But in industry, if we have some people up there earning a huge amount of money, I would say good luck to them, is my opinion.
In America, it's completely different, isn't it? They don't have this.
They celebrate people doing well. It's almost that we have a culture in the UK where we don't want people to do better than us.
But this rather assumes that anybody with the will to do it can be successful and make a lot of money. That's
of course
that's what it's assuming.
Yeah. No, of course.
Yeah, I've worked for bosses that are incredibly hard working, and they work harder than their staff, and I kind of believe they deserve the money. Then I've worked for other bosses who've earned a lot of money. They've literally built up companies, sold them for a profit, and they've literally controlled their staff. I've worked on weekends, they've worked on weekends, and these bosses have treated people like scum, basically. They have not treated people fairly. And when I used to chat to my family about how certain circumstances could happen, like when I was living in London, my mum used to go on about, well, what about the union? What about your rights? I said, people are so scared about the jobs, they dare not speak out because they will just get finished. There's certain ways bosses can get rid of people. And so I get your point, Sharon. Yeah, a lot of bosses, when they work hard and they risk everything to go into a business. Those people should be rewarded, but there's other people who are bosses who really treat their staff appallingly.
Is it not down to measurement? Is it not down to how we're measured and targeted, though, John? Because I can work really hard, several hours a day, but I might add little value to a business.
No, I can talk about the architecture business. My wife I'm separated from. There's two of the biggest companies in London that are also one's the biggest in Europe, and maybe you've heard of Sir Norman Foster. His I'm not going to say anything libelous. the image of certain people is, lovely guy, very talented, all that. You go behind the scenes of these architecture companies, people can work 90, 100, 110 hours a week, and they get no more additional pay than their 40 hours, nothing extra. And people know the system is, if you complain, if you moan, you're out. Other people want that job.
Is that not choices, though, John? If that's the environment you want to work in?
No, it's too simple to say choices. I think sometimes you have to compete with your Chinas, you have to compete with your Brazils and your Indias. I get all that. I'm not naive about business, but there's also a moral side to business where people deserve to be treated well and to be supported, because if you put in the people, if you put in the time and the support with people, you treat them right, you get so much more back in loyalty and passion and value.
Well, we're going to be talking about this next. Maybe you are in business yourself. Maybe you're a small business. Maybe you're one of these people that earns a lot of money. We'll talk about this and take your comments. 01642 225511. If you'd rather text me, it's 81333 and start your message with the word tease. Good luck with the job hunting, John.
Thank you.
And continued success with CoCo Moon, Sharon.
Thank you.
It's 14 minutes past 10.